If we watch Grave of the Fireflies in a daze, we'll miss the important parts of this story. Because before we see the film, we assume what the story is about. We tend to think of it as a pity story. Or sometimes we watch it based on how we think the characters are, that they were not honest or mean. It makes us miss a lot. It's almost the end of the story. Setsuko is dying of malnutrition. Seda spends his last savings. He buys rice and eggs. And he makes egg and chicken rice porridge for Setsuko. But Setsuko dies while making the rice porridge. A sad scene. It's the rice porridge. The porridge is in a pot. There is a bowl. Chopsticks are here. This is a chopping board instead of a tray. This is a replacement for a spoon. Here is a handmade one made of shells. They used this spoon at their aunt's house. They brought it in. Eventually, Setsuko dies before the dish is ready. It's a pitiful story. But the morning after Setsuko's death, while Seda was cremating her with the charcoal he got from someone, the camera clearly and cruelly captures the cave in which they lived. This is the scene. Here is a place to sleep. A light is coming from over there. There is a pot of rice porridge on this side. I have emphasized this for clarity. Here, chopsticks and a spoon are put in. In other words, Seda ate it. Director Takahata makes it clear at key points what kind of person Seda is and how he feels at the moment. If you look at it vaguely, there's rice porridge left uneaten in the scene before that, so people normally think he didn't eat it. But we can see that he ate it during Setsuko's funeral. An empty pot is something that doesn't need to be drawn. Then why does Takahata instruct the animators to draw them? This is the realist side of him. There is a watermelon that Setsuko could only eat one bite of. We see it when Setsuko is cremated. It's also eaten after all. When I told this to people, some said, no, that's not true, or it was ants that ate it. So I checked it out. Seda cuts it in half with his knife when he shares it with Setsuko and says he'll leave it here. They don't look like that just because ants ate them. Seda, after Setsuko's death, his consciousness might be clear. The film depicts him eating a meal with an appetite. I thought it was humanity. Only the leftmost slice has flesh. It is a slice that Seda cut out with a knife. He gave Setsuko only the sweetest part of it. He managed to put it in Setsuko's mouth. And she says, it's sweet. He couldn't eat just that one slice. Because that's what he gave Setsuko. It also depicts the humanity like that. But Seda's greed for life, or appetite, is also clearly depicted. I think it's Isao Takahata's realism. That tends to be overlooked. Do you hate that kind of pity story? Yes, it must be too sad to hear. Is it hard to talk about this? Seda cries when Setsuko says something pure. For example, my aunt told me that my mother is dead and in the grave, says Setsuko. Then he cries a lot. But he doesn't cry at all after Setsuko's death. Even when he sleeps with her corpse one night. He looks emotionless. He sleeps so unemotionally, like this. This is a cremation scene. His face is intentionally drawn without emotion. Only the red light in his eyes flickered as the flames blazed. It depicts a blank expression, not sadness. There is a reason for that. Even when the performers are expressionless, the audience sees sadness in their faces. This visual effect is called the Kuleshov effect. It was found by Russian filmmakers. Here's an image that often comes up with it. Alternating between an expressionless man and a dead child, the man seems to be sad. And an expressionless man and steaming soup. The man seems to be driven by appetite. Then an expressionless man and an attractive woman. The man seems to be lustful, commonly known as the theory of montage. Montage means to edit the images. Editing images to create this psychological effect is called the Kuleshov effect. Let me say this first. Hayao Miyazaki hates the Kuleshov effect. He denies it. One of the things he likes is Dora from Laputa, Castle in the Sky, for example. When Dora says, acting like a little baby, Patsu, you're on your own with that. She scolds him and she speaks for herself. Yes, you're useful in getting that girl to cooperate. He lets Dora do the acting. It gives the character an act and makes it easy to understand what kind of character Dora is. But Takahata doesn't like to let the characters say what they're thinking and let the audience know what the characters are feeling. So he uses the Kuleshov effect to show Seda's sadness by showing him without expression. What I wanted to say is why Seda is expressionless. The reason we cry when we see this scene is because this face is filled with sadness. Because he seems to be doing his best to suppress his grief and act normal. We're incredibly moved by this scene. But in fact, perhaps Seda loses his humanity at this time. He has lost his humanity, so even when his sister dies, he still gets hungry and eats. He feels he doesn't have to look after his sister anymore, so he's relieved and hungry. The original author, Akiyuki Nosaka, himself said he was relieved by sister's death before making the film with Isao Takahata. He says he is not that innocent. To be honest, I was relieved when my sister died. He tries very hard to appeal. He asked to use it in the film, and Takahata promised to do so. That's why he can calmly go and buy charcoal to cremate his sister. Seda, who is so excited that he almost hits someone when he hears that the Japanese Grand Fleet has sunk. Even when the charcoal man tells him how to burn a corpse well, his emotion is completely unmoved. Which means he becomes less and less human. His humanity is breaking down. But we, the audience, see Seda's humanity broken, and instead we regain our humanity and cry emotionally. It is acrobatic. This is really a well-structured movie. Isao Takahata depicts the process by which Seda loses his humanity. At the same time, he gives evidence that Seda eats rice porridge and watermelon. But there are no shots of him gobbling it up. That's a very elegant production. So if you watch this film in the normal way, sometimes you really don't get it. Next, I'd like to talk about why Seda's process of losing his humanity is not emphasized, and why Takahata made such a traumatic anime.